Shalom. I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai, Bahasham, Rakha Chodash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of Great Millstone, because those are the men that I learned this truth from through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahushai. Yahweh is the true name of the God of Israel. Yahweh Shai is who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ, but his one and only true name is Yahweh Shai. And pretty much in this lesson, I'm going to be going into China's credit system and how that ties back to the 2030 agenda, which goes back to the Rothschilds, all right, the biblical Edomites, which are the so-called white man and sea lion. So without further ado, before I get into my lesson, I want you to check out these two videos.
Now the base has been formed, but we have to go one step further. We have to have a strategic mood. We have to construct the world of tomorrow. It's a systemic transformation of the world. So we have to define how the world should look like, which we want to come out of this transformation.
But how to bring everybody on board?
There is now the opinion globalization has failed and we are entering into an era of deglobalization. I think that's wrong. I respect China's achievements, which are tremendous over the last over 40 years since the opening up and policy and reform policy came into action. I think it's a role model for many countries, but I think also we should leave it to each country to make its own decision what system it wants to adopt. And I think we should be very careful in imposing systems. But the Chinese model is certainly a very attractive model for.
All right, so as you can see here, all these countries are and will adopt this idea because this is a part of the NWO agenda, a digital cashless society where you will be an everlasting slave. You will not have freedom. One of the slogans for the 2030 agenda is what? You won't own anything. All right, you won't own anything and you will be happy. This is what everything is leading to. They want to do away with fiat currency. They're going to cause a global economic collapse. And they're going to blame it on these pestilences, these different disease outbreaks. They also have a phrase called what? The Great Global Reset, which is conditioning the world society and all these different countries, all right, through their policies. And they use this ABC 19 strands or plague to what? To control society, to reshape society to their liking. And one of the main things they want to do is what? Get rid of cash. You can't use cash. That's why they scared people. And they said what? That this plague, it can spread on paper money, right? So this is what we're living through, all right? This is what they discuss on the World Economic Forum. This is a part of the Great Global Reset Plan. You know, you need to search these things up. All these things concerning YouTube censorship, the algorithms, you know, the advertisements you see on Google, on YouTube. It's almost like this system could read your mind, this artificial intelligence. Why is that? Because you're being tracked, you're being monitored. Every time you go on Google, they ask you, do you allow us to track you, right? So all these things that's going on, this is the New World Order system being set up right before your very eyes, all right? And the final end game of this agenda is to implant you with an RFID chip implant, which is the MARK of the beast, or the MOTB, because this is a part of the fourth industrial revolution plan, which they call transhumanism, merging man and machine together. They want to put a chip in you. See, this social credit system that China has is designed to reshape and control society. That's why you have pros and cons, right? It's just like in America, you have a FICO score here. In China, you have the social credit score system there. If you're not a good citizen, meaning you're not doing what a slave is supposed to do, you're not abiding by the government's laws and systems, then there's certain things you can't do in society. So in the next video that I'm going to show you is going to explain the China social credit system. Then I will go into my lesson.
We're not the only ones saying Casper mattresses are the best. Our original and wave hybrid.
Everywhere she goes, Ouyang Haoyu is followed. What she buys, how she behaves, is tracked and scored to show how responsible and trustworthy she is. It's called the social credit system, and in one version now being tested, a person's reputation is scored on a scale of 350 to 950. And Haoyu, with a good score of 752, is okay with it. In fact, most people are.
It's a mechanism like pushes you to become a better citizen.
It's big data meets Big Brother, expanding how the government monitors, understands, and ultimately controls its 1.4 billion citizens. Thanks to advances in artificial intelligence and facial recognition, and a web of more than 200 million surveillance cameras.
Are people bothered by privacy concerns?
We think the lot of camera keep the safety is really good. We can accept it.
Companies are experimenting with the algorithms to help the government create the new national social credit system. The government also has pilot projects. In one, citizens are required to do hours of unpaid work to get benefits. And scores are docked for things like littering, a messy yard, gossip, even jaywalking. Video of offenders is shown on the local news. And information collectors like Zhou Aini are paid to report on their neighbors. Her quota, 10 entries a month. Like the man who carried a drunk person home. A good deed, she says. Good social credit gets rewarded with perks like cheap loans and travel deals. But a bad score means public shame and worse. Huang Huijun lost a court case and didn't pay. Now he's on a government blacklist. I can't buy airplane or train tickets, he says, and the list goes on. Being discredited makes it hard to get a job or put kids in top schools. The social credit system will go nationwide next year, and few here are willing to criticize it. Something that may pose a risk itself for a bad score and the life that comes with it. Janice Mackey-Frere, NBC News, Beijing.
So there you go. This NWO system is being set up. Now let's check this out. Let's see what totalitarian means. It says relating to a system of government. But wait a minute. Whose system and government are all countries living under? The central bankers. What do they look like? What nation do they belong to? Is this in the Bible? It is in the Bible. All right, because it was prophesied that what? That the Romans, which were Edomites, the so-called white man and sea lion, that they will come back into rulership again. We are living in the revival of the ancient Roman Empire. All right, pursuing to Daniel, the 2nd chapter, the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 6, verse 9. It tells you that Esau is the end of the world, meaning the Edomites, the so-called white man and their seed, beginning with the central bankers on down, that they are in rulership. All these countries, including China, right, is under this man's system. So even though you might go to a different country and they may not have a so-called white man on the fiat currency that's currently out. But that system and that bank is going to go back to them. All you got to do is go on Google, type in a list of central banks. Who started the central banks? All right. Who started the first central bank in the Bank of England? Maya M. Bauer. And then his 5 sons went on to Europe to control that area over there through finance and the banking system, to the point where they are in control of the whole entire planet Earth. And Klaus Schwab himself is a Rothschild, all right, in disguise when you do your research. I did a video on my main channel talking about that, all right? So that's why Klaus Schwab, he's saying that what? The world needs to follow behind China. Why? Because that's his family's agenda. The social credit system, to implant you with an RFID chip implant. All right. He even got a book on it, The Fourth Industrial Revolution, Transhumanism. Right. This is what they want. They want to make you a slave. These agendas and these new laws that they come out with is not for your benefit. It's for control. All right. Now, totalitarian, it says relating to a system of government that is centralized. This is why they want to do away with cryptocurrency. All right. Now you're starting to notice that a lot of these crypto millionaires and billionaires, they're suddenly dying out of nowhere. Why? You know why. Think about it. Because them currencies that they coming up with, the way how they may have acquired their wealth with the current cryptocurrencies that's on the market, that's not centralized. This is why the central bankers, they are coming up with what? The central bank digital currency, the CBDC, which is a one world currency. Now, what they're not telling you is that this currency is going to be on the RFID chip implant. And this is why the time period of the hour of temptation is going to come upon all the world. Because these central bankers, they have central banks throughout all these countries. They control all these governments through finance, through money. That was even a quote that Maya M. Bauer said. All right. He said, I don't care who makes the laws. Give me control of a nation's money. And I care not who writes the laws. All right. So this is how they're going to be able to do it. So it says, so Bitcoin and all these other cryptocurrencies, sooner or later, they're going to vanish. All right. Because when you read Revelation 13 and 17, it's telling you about what? You're not going to be able to buy or sell, at least you have this MARK of the beast, which is the RFID chip implant. Now, the RFID chip implant, it can store data on it. What's going to be on this chip? See, right now, we're in the beginning stages of this NWO agenda. Now, concerning China and the social credit system, yes, they have facial recognition. Yes, they have a social credit score. Yes, they have full control over their society through this system that they're implementing. But now that system and all those different artificial intelligences, right? All of that is what the chip can do. So they want to put a chip in you so that they can be able to track you and monitor you all the time. All right. And the way how these so-called, the way how these Edomites that's in high positions look at the world, they look at us as goyim. All right. They look at us as wild cattle on the loose. So what does a shepherd do with its cattle? He brands them. This is where the chip comes in there. All right. So all these different artificial intelligence that's a part of the NWO system that's being set up is leading up to mandatory microchipping. All right. So it says relating to a system of government that is centralized. So once again, you had all these people, they became millionaires off of what? Dogecoin, Bitcoin, all these different cryptocurrencies, right? So the Edomites that's in high positions, the Rothschilds, Carl Schwab, the people that's at the World Economic Forum, they look at that and they're like, wait a minute, we got to have more control over society. How the hell do these people under our system, our dictatorship, how the hell are these people finding a way to be free and be liberated and to get rich? All right. So now this new system that they're coming up with is for more control. All right. To take away your freedom. So it says relating to a system of government that is centralized. Centralized meaning what? It comes from the central bank. It says and dictatorial and requires complete subservience to the state. So that's what China's credit system, as well as here in America, the FICO score. There's certain things you can't do if your credit score is not at a high enough level. All right. What are these things based upon? The same thing. Paying your bills on time. Right. You can't be late with a payment. You won't be able to get approved for a loan. But in China is even worse. Right. It says a person advocating a totalitarian system of government. All right. The Rothschilds through the central bankers. So let's see what else they got here. It says totalitarianism is a form of government that attempts to assert total control over the lives of its citizens. It is characterized by strong central rule. Who runs the central bank? What do they look like? According to the Bible, who the hell are these people? The Edomites, right? So-called white man and seed. It says it is centralized by strong central rule that attempts to control and direct all aspects of individual life. They have a phrase called social conditioning, all right? They also have a phrase called what? Gradualism, getting people to accept an agenda through steps. It says through coercion, right? Which, let's see what that word means.
Coercion.
It says the practice of persuading, aka what? Gradualism, right? Social conditioning. The practice of persuading someone to do something by using force or threats. All right. So now let's jump back. Coercion and repression. It does not permit individual freedom. So these new things that's being set in place is to take away your freedom. They don't want you to be free. They look at people in society as wild slaves on the loose. All right. So now let's get this real quick. So now social credit system. What is that? The social credit system is a national credit rating and blacklist being developed by the government of the People's Republic of China, right? It says China's social credit system rules. According to the Chinese government 2015 plan for implementation, the social credit system was due to be fully implemented by 2020. And, you know, that's when the ABC 19 took place. That's when the plague took place. See, this is why they call it the Great Global Reset. It was centered around this plague that took place, this disease outbreak, which, by the way, China is on lockdown right now concerning that before it comes again all over the world, right? But now that that's going on over there, pretty much China is a big experiment for the central bankers, all right? They want to see how people is going to react, how they can comply more to the government's agendas, which is going to lead up to what? That MOTB, right? So it says once implemented, the system will manage the rewards and punishments for businesses, institutions, right? Now, let's compare that to America. Now, here in America, they have what? Mandatory mask implementation, right? You got to wear your mask everywhere. You can't get on the bus unless you have a mask. You couldn't go into business unless you had a mask or a receipt proving that what? You got that shot, right? So you can compare it. It says institutions and individuals on the basis of their economic and personal behavior, right? Social credit system, pros and cons. It promotes good behavior in a variety of instances. It rewards morality and punishes corruption. It could potentially make China a safer place to live and work. It may increase each citizen's positive effect on society. It holds people and companies accountable for their actions. Now, here in America, when businesses wasn't complying with that mandatory mask mandate, they had their licenses stripped from them. All right. Now, if they was to do that in China, they would get blacklisted. We're going to go into that too. All right. So it says China's social credit system explained. The goal of the social credit system is to regulate social behavior and ensure that those being documented remain trustworthy, aka what? Being a slave. All right. Being a slave, abiding by the government's rules. It says through actions like paying bills on time, abiding by the law, and reporting financial data accurately. It says, does the U.S. have a social credit score? Right? They got that. But this is what I want to read. FICO credit scores. These numerical scores, Salakia, determine an individual's access to financial credit. So it's pretty much similar. All right. So now let's just get into the scriptures. Now, this is 2 Corinthians 2:11. It says, least Satan, right? And when you go into this word Satan, the word there in Satanas, and what is it talking about? A Satan like man, Satan's physical counterpart on the planet Earth, which happened to be who? The wicked. Malachi 1:4, which is the nation of Edom, the wicked man. All right, the man that controls all these governments through finance, through the banking system, right? The central bankers. So it says, least Satan, right? Satan like man, the Edomites, that's the control of the world currently, should get an advantage of us. How will he get an advantage over you? If you believe in his lies and his deception. If you think that this chip, when it's made mandatory, that is a thing of convenience, that is a miracle. If you trust in his NWO system that's being set up, it says, for we, the elect of the nation of Israel, the seed line of Jacob, of you so-called Negroes, Hispanics, and Native American Indians that believe worldwide, are not ignorant. Now, to be ignorant, what does it mean? It means not to know of his devices. Now, when you go into this word devices, the word there is Naima, and it says what? A mental perception, thought, an evil purpose, that which thinks the mind, thoughts, or purposes, which is going to lead you back to the word conspiracy. The word conspiracy, a secret plan by a group. What group? The Edomites, right? The nation that's in power. To do something unlawful or harmful, aka what? Put a chip inside of you. Come up with all these different rules and regulations, right? That involves taking your freedom away, to make you a slave to them, to worship them as a god, to obey their rules, right? The action of plotting or conspiring. So this is what these Edomites are doing through these different countries. And let's read about their agenda. One world government, right? Who's going to be control of this government? The Rothschilds, right? Or the banking families. One world cashless currency, which involves what? The CBDC. All these countries are coming up with the CBDC. Why? Because that's a part of their agenda. All right. This is a global digital totalitarian system that's being set up by the central bankers through these countries, right? One world central bank. They only want the Bank of England to be the one true bank left, right? We're going to scroll down through this. It says depopulation, control of population growth and population density, right? They got these different ways to pretty much kill off people, whether it be through the sodomite agenda, feminism, to where men don't even want to deal with these women because they so damn masculine and act like men, right? Got these different diseases that come out of nowhere, the food, genetically modified foods, the pollution of creation in general, right? It says mandatory multiple V's. You see that word there, right? Check this out. Microchip society for purchasing, travel, tracking, and controlling. So this social credit system is leading up to this right here. Microchip society for purchasing, travel, tracking, and controlling. This is going to be the ultimate form of control. All right. That's why I said everything is a buildup to get you to accept the agenda before they just throw it at you and make it mandatory. Right. Let's see what else they got here. All right. So, I mean, that's pretty much it. You know, all these things is going on right now. All right. Now let's go back. So I'm going to read it one more time. 2 Corinthians 2:11, least Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we understand that this social credit system and this current system is leading up to a digital cashless society where they're going to make the RFID chip implant mandatory. But before they do that, they're gradually in steps trying to get the unbelievers to accept this 2030 agenda. All right. And understand, this 2030 agenda does not mean that, oh, in the year 2030, you know, this is when this is going to happen. I never said that in none of my videos. I'm saying that this is what they have planned. All right. But we know, according to Matthew 24 and 22, the days is going to be shortened for the elect's sake. All right. And ultimately, you can't deceive the very elect. So now let's go to this. Because I believe this chip is going to be made mandatory very soon. It could be next year, you know, it could be 2024. but Lord willing, is next year. Now, this is the book of Psalms, chapter 10, and verse 2. The wicked, right? Who's the wicked? The Edomites, right? Malachi 1 and 4. And his pride doeth persecute the poor. How are they persecuting the poor? Isaiah 10 and 1. Through their unrighteous decrees, through their system that they're rolling out, right? This NWO system, this cashless digital society, which is designed to make you a slave to them and worship them like a god, right? Let them be taken in the devices that they imagine. When you go into this word devices, it also links up with conspiracy, right?
Strong's H 4209. Mezimah. Mezimah.
Purpose, discretion, device, plot, purpose, discretion, devices, aka what? That 2030 agenda, right? Or these so-called conspiracy theories, which is a conspiracy fact. It's not a theory because they're actually doing it. It says, for the wicked boasteth of his heart desire, right? His agenda to implant you with a chip, and blesseth the covetous who the Lord abhorreth. The wicked, through the pride of his countenance, will not seek after the Most High. The Most High is not know his thoughts. Because these Edomites, they don't fear the Most High. You know, they've been in power so long, they feel like the Most High forgot that they was in power. That's how they act. All right? But they in for a rude awakening, because Yahushua will come back by the way of the so-called UFOs and take these devils out of power. It says his ways are always grievous, because his laws and this system deals with what? Oppression, right? Thy judgments are far above out of his sight. And that's why I made the comment that I just made. All right? Because what? Because judgment is not executed expediently. All right? These devils feel like they're going to get away with their agenda to fully establish it. For all his enemies he puffeth at them, right? He has said in his heart, I shall not be moved. This is the mindset of the so-called white man, right? Psalm 49:11, right? Obadiah, the first chapter. For I shall never be in adversity, right? Because he has this system set up, right? This global banking system, the central bank, Federal Reserve, all right? His technology, his artificial intelligence, his thermonuclear missiles, right? It says his mouth is full of cursing and deceit and fraud. Under his tongue is mischief. Mischief is evil, and vanity, vain things, right? Temporal vain things. He sitteth in the lurking places of the villages, and the secret places doeth he murder the innocent, right? This is what they talk about when they have the World Economic Forum, right? The Bohemian Grove, the G4 summits, all these different meetings. They talk about how can we control the world population according to our agendas. His eyes are privily set against the poor. He lieth in wait secretly as a lion in his den, right? The man behind the curtain, right? But now these devils, they're being exposed. It says he lieth in wait to catch the poor. He doeth catch the poor when he drove him into his net, right? His different agendas, trying to make you think that his agendas are a thing of convenience. But that's the deception part. It says he croucheth and humbleth himself, like he's trying to help you out, right? That the poor may fall by his strong ones. He have said in his heart, the Most High have forgotten, right? That's why I made the point that I made earlier. He hideth his face, he shall never see it. Arise, O Lord, arise, O Yahweh, O power, lift up thy hand, forget not the humble. And he won't, because he's going to send his only begotten son back to deliver us. Now, let me get this last precept, and that's it for this lesson. This is the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2 and verse 5. Yea, also because he transgresseth by wine. What's the wine? His philosophies, his agendas, and what you people call conspiracy theories, which is nothing more than Bible prophecy being coming to pass, right? His system being set up, his agenda being set up, right? He is a proud man. The so-called white man, Obadiah 1 and 3 through 4, he's prideful. All these heathen nations, they acknowledge Yahweh and Yahushua. They acknowledge the Heavenly Father. right? But the so-called white man, he don't fear the Most High to the point where there's prophecies that's going to take place, such as what? These devils and all these nations that's gathered unto him, right, concerning their armies, they're going to fight against Yahushua and what the world calls an alien invasion, which is nothing more than Yahushua coming back to deliver the elect of the nation of Israel and to establish the kingdom of heaven on earth as prophesied, right? Neither keepeth at home, because his agenda is a global agenda. That's why the scriptures say what? The hour of temptation is going to come upon all the world, right? It says, who enlargeth his desire as hell. And this is not just in America. This is a worldwide thing. People is being oppressed because of these devils. It says, and is as death and cannot be satisfied. He can't be satisfied. This man has all the power in the world right now from the Most High, and he's not satisfied with that to the point where he want to put a chip inside of you. All right. It says, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, right? And heapeth unto him all people. So all these nations is following after this man's agenda. So I just wanted to do this quick video. Lord willing, it was edifying. Shalom.